The first sound I remember from that night is the laughter. It rolled across the marble floor of the Harrington mansion like cold water poured down my back. I was standing just inside the study doorway, still holding the box of cleaning supplies my mother had asked me to carry, when Mr. Theodore Harrington turned to his guests and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Gentlemen, ladies, how about a little entertainment? Fatima's boy is here. Why don't we have him play a quick game of chess? I'm sure it'll be educational." The room exploded in chuckles. Someone actually clapped. Another man raised his glass and toasted, "To beginner's luck." I felt the heat rush to my face, but I didn't move. I just stood there in my faded hoodie and scuffed sneakers, while 20 pairs of eyes sized me up like I was a circus act they'd paid extra to see. My mother was somewhere down the hall, polishing silver she couldn't afford to buy, and I could almost feel her heart breaking through the walls. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to drop the box and run all the way back to our apartment on the south side. But something inside me, maybe pride, maybe the quiet voice that had whispered, "Bismillah," over 1,000 silent chessboards, kept my feet rooted. My name is Ahmed Khalil, and that was the night the joke backfired on all of them. I was 16 then, tall for my age but thin from too many nights choosing extra study hours over second helpings of dinner. My mother, Fatima, had been cleaning the Harrington estate 5 days a week for 9 years. She took the 6:10 a.m. bus every morning so she could be back in time to wake me for Fajr and pack my lunch. People like Mr. Harrington never noticed the exhaustion under her gentle smile or the way her hands trembled after carrying buckets of water up and down those endless stairs. To them, she was invisible. And by extension, so was I. Except I wasn't invisible that night. "Sit, sit," Mr. Harrington said, gesturing grandly to the antique rosewood table where a hand-carved Staunton set waited like a battlefield. The board alone probably cost more than our monthly rent. "I'll even give you white. Go on, Ahmed. Show us what the public school system teaches these days." More laughter. Someone whispered, "$10 says he doesn't know the knight from the bishop." I set the box down slowly, wiped my palms on my jeans, and took the seat across from him. The chair was too tall. My feet barely touched the floor. I remember the smell of expensive leather and the crackle of the fireplace behind me. I remember thinking, "Ya Allah, just let me keep my dignity." I opened with 1 E4. Simple, classical, respectful. Mr. Harrington answered with the Sicilian, aggressive, cocky. He kept talking while he moved, telling his friends about his latest yacht purchase, barely glancing at the board. I stayed quiet and played the open Sicilian I had memorized from books I checked out again and again at the library because we couldn't afford to buy them. By move 9, my knight was on C6 and I had already castled. By move 14, I had doubled rooks on the e-file and his king was still in the center. The chatter in the room began to die. Someone coughed. A woman's wine glass paused halfway to her lips. Move 21. I played a quiet little move, bishop to B4, pinning his knight to his king. Mr. Harrington frowned for the first time. He leaned forward. The smirk slipped off his face like ice melting off a roof. I could almost hear his thoughts. "This isn't supposed to happen." Move 27. I sacrificed a rook on G7. The room went dead silent. You could have heard a heartbeat. Mr. Harrington stared at the board for a full 2 minutes, then looked up at me, not with anger, but with something close to fear. 3 moves later, I said, very softly, "Checkmate." The grandfather clock in the corner ticked once, twice. No one spoke. Then Mrs. Harrington, elegant, blonde, always kind to my mother in that distant way rich people are kind to the help, let out a small, involuntary, "Oh my God." Mr. Harrington sat back in his chair as though someone had punched him in the chest. His face was the color of old paper. Where on earth did you learn to play like that?" he finally managed.
I folded my hands in my lap so no one would see them shaking. The library, sir, and YouTube, and a lot of nights when I should have been sleeping. A man near the fireplace muttered, "He just destroyed Theo in 29 moves." Another whispered, "That was a GM-level combination." I stood up. My legs felt like water. "Thank you for the game," I said, because my mother had taught me manners matter more than feelings. Then I walked out of the study, past all those stunned faces, and found my mother in the kitchen. She took one look at me and opened her arms. I buried my face in her shoulder and cried without sound, while she stroked my hair and whispered, "Alhamdulillah, Habibi, Alhamdulillah." That should have been the end of it. A quiet victory, a secret I carried home on the late bus. But the next morning, Mr. Harrington called our apartment, something he had never done before, and asked to speak to me. When I picked up, his voice was different, smaller. "Ahmed, I owe you an apology, a big one. What I did last night, it was cruel. I treated you like a prop. I'm ashamed." I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. "I'd like to make it right," he continued. "There's a junior tournament downtown next month. Entry fee, travel, coaching, whatever you need, I'll cover it. And if you ever want real lessons, I know people. The best people." I told him I'd think about it. When I hung up, Mom was staring at me with wide eyes. "He's offering to sponsor you?" she asked. I nodded. She pressed her hands to her mouth and started crying all over again, but this time they were happy tears. The weeks that followed felt like walking through a dream I was afraid to wake up from. Mr. Harrington kept his word. He paid for private lessons with Coach Ramirez, a former Illinois state champion, who almost refused to believe I was self-taught until we played our first training game and I held him to a draw. People started noticing. First the local chess club, then the newspapers. Muslim teen from Chicago's South Side stuns millionaire in private match. The headlines made me uncomfortable. They focused on the Maid part, the religion part, the underdog part, but they also opened doors. Suddenly I had a rating, an account on chess.com under my real name instead of the anonymous Southside King 97 I'd hidden behind for years, and invitations pouring in. But not everyone was kind. At my new training center downtown, some of the wealthy kids I played against made quiet comments when they thought I couldn't hear them. Wonder how long before he starts asking for handouts. Probably only here because of affirmative action. I heard it all. I smiled, I shook hands after losses, I kept my mouth shut and my moves sharp. The hate mail started after I won the Chicago Junior Championship. Anonymous emails calling me names I won't repeat, telling me to go back where I came from, threatening my mother. I didn't tell her about most of them. I just forwarded them to the police and kept studying. Coach Ramirez taught me more than openings and endgames. He taught me how to walk into a room like I belonged there. "They want you to feel small," he said one afternoon, resetting the pieces after I'd beaten him for the first time. "Don't give them the satisfaction." My best friend, Jamal, was my rock through all of it. We'd known each other since first grade at the mosque Sunday school. He wasn't a serious chess player, but he came to every tournament, sitting in the back row, wearing a kufi and a grin, holding a sign that said, "Ahmed equals future world champion," in glitter glue. After one particularly brutal day, when a tournament director randomly searched my bag 3 times, Jamal put an arm around my shoulders and said, "Bro, they're scared of you. That's the highest compliment they can pay you." My mother never missed a single match once Mr. Harrington started giving her paid time off to attend. She would sit in the parents section, clutching her tasbih, lips moving silently with dua the entire game. When I won the state title, she ran to me across the tournament hall and hugged me so hard my feet left the ground. People took pictures. That image, my mother in her simple hijab, holding her crying son in a blazer 2 sizes too big, ended up on the front page of the Chicago Tribune.
Mr. Harrington was there that day too, standing quietly at the back. Afterward, he approached us, eyes red. "Fatima," he said. I was wrong about everything. Your son is the most extraordinary young man I've ever met. Then he turned to me. Ahmed, I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for it anyway. I looked at my mother. She nodded once, slowly. I took a breath. We forgive you, I said. But please, help others like you almost didn't help me. That's when he set up the Ahmed Khalil Scholarship Fund. 10 full-ride scholarships every year for low-income kids to study chess and STEM. My mother's name on the letterhead. She cried for a week. Years have passed since that night in the mahogany study. I'm 22 now, a senior at the University of Chicago on full scholarship, ranked among the top junior players in the country. I still get stared at sometimes, on campus, on planes, in hotel lobbies during tournaments. Some stares are curious, some are hostile, some are odd. I smile at all of them the same way. Last month I played Mr. Harrington again, a charity simul in the same mansion, 20 boards, all proceeds to the scholarship fund. When we reached our game, the room fell quiet the way it did that first night. We shook hands across the same rosewood table. He played white this time. On move 31, I sacrificed my queen for a forced mate in 6. The crowd applauded. He just looked at me, eyes shining, and said, "Still teaching me, Ahmed." Afterward, he pulled me aside. I keep that original game score sheet framed in my office, he told me. Every time I'm tempted to judge someone too quickly, I look at it and remember what an arrogant fool I was. I laughed. You gave me a chance to prove you wrong, sir. That counts for something. He shook his head. No, you proved yourself. I just got out of the way. Sometimes, late at night when the city is quiet, I still replay that first game in my head. I think about the boy who walked into a room full of laughter and walked out having changed every mind in it without ever raising his voice. I think about my mother's hands, worn from years of cleaning other people's houses, now holding award certificates with her son's name on them. I think about every kid who will never have to feel invisible because someone finally saw me. The joke was never mine to begin with. It belonged to people who thought a Maid son couldn't possibly belong at their table. But Allah had written a different ending. And every time I sit down at a new board, I still whisper the same quiet dua I whispered that night. Guard my mind, steady my heart, and let the truth speak louder than their laughter ever could. Because genius isn't about where you start. It's about refusing to let anyone else decide where you finish.